eyes represent a fine little detail that is not every day noticed, say when you're going to a temple. Deities, as have been represented, painted, have a unique feature. If you notice very closely, their eyelids are in a relaxed manner, whereas with everyday experiences, our eyelids tend to either get droopy or heavy or um, just not as you would see maybe with a child. Health of eyelids play an important role in clarity of vision, your ability to not have doomsday thought lines. Your eyes and eyelids play an important role in what you see about your environment. They weigh down upon what you see. Just eyelids may be very thin tissues, but the physiological processes that goes on about the region of the eyelid has an influence on what you see, how you see, and what choices you make, because the brain is very close to the eyelids. The thinking parts of the brain, the information that is processed from what you see, and the health of your eyelids, the circadian rhythms of your eyelids, play an important role in how your information is processed once you see. So this exercise is an extempore on how the eyelids are maintained, but in a manner that over time is a sort of face yoga, but it's more like eyelid yoga. So I invite you to bring your attention to your eyelids, left and right sides. But when we say eyelids, you have the upper eyelids and the lower eyelids. And I'm now bringing your attention only to the upper eyelids. We will work with the lower eyelids later because there's a lot of work just with the upper eyelids. It's a thin flap of tissue, but the amount of work it does requires a textbook in and of itself. But in this exercise, we will attempt to bring attention to some of the features that affects the eyelids. Now, it may seem like I'm repeating myself, but when you are paying attention to your eyelids in terms of a sensory experience, the description would go longer because the eyelids form two aspects of a story of your life. From the forehead to eyebrows to eyelids are several tissues, cells, tissues, and organs behind, for example, brain, parts of the brain, but they have an influence on just this little area of your head. And when you are paying attention to your forehead, no, just your eyelids, the amount of influence that the air has on your skin, that the left and right sides of your body, of your brain has on your eyes, and what it takes to pay attention to the sensory experience of your eyelids will go into volumes. Why? Because when we say sensation of your eyelids, we are paying attention to temperature, we are paying attention to texture of your tissues. The foreheads have a certain tension. The central part of your forehead has a tension versus the left and right sides. And we cannot pay attention to eyelids without being in some way aware of the foreheads because it's part of the same face. There are nervous tissues, there are nervous innervation, skin innervation, blood vessel connections, muscle connections between the eyelid, the forehead, this region. And there's a whole lot of processes that light has to play and magnetism about this region. So the sensory experience of just noticing your eyelids speaks about how much of heaviness the upper part of the head has weighs down on your eyes. So when you are looking through layers of tension from the upper part of your face on your eyes, and what you see could get clouded by what's coming upway or downway from the top of your head, because there's gravitational effect, because you're keeping your head up against gravity when you're standing upright. If you're lying down, the weight is flat this way, but there is not much gravitational effect on your face. But nevertheless, you have your body designed in a manner that when you're standing up, over and above the anatomical and physiological processes, gravity has a role to play. When you're lying down, your body weave, the weave of your tissues, the upper part of the face, has an influence on how your eyes function. Sometimes there's a tension or there's a dryness about your eyes because the nerves may be so tense. Say if you haven't slept much, there's a tension on your nerves, which then has an effect on the lubrication of your eyes. And when you have to pay attention to just the sensation of your eyelids, all of that is what's happening about the eyes and about the forehead and your eyebrows comes to the fore. And your ability to sense your eyelids is through this thick kind of several layers of sensations that are about just the upper part of your face. That's also because there's a central processing unit, the brain, and several other factors at play, brain waves, for example, and several other details. Emotional centers, there are nerves which then innervate your eyes through which you then can see. So there is all that processing units here. And also the nerves that then inform your nose also has a role here. So there are many connections about this region. So taking care of your eyelid plays an important part in your ability to think clearly, for your common sense to function, because there are many innovations about this region, sensorily. And your frontal part of your brain is where the prefrontal cortex, where there is a lot of thinking happening. Relaxing your eyelids, your ability to relax an eyelid, the eyelids is an exercise in and of itself. But when you can do it, you have what's called a pleasant demeanor, where your nervous system is relaxed, your blood vessels are relaxed, your muscles are relaxed about here. And consequently, the tension that is there on your brain is relaxed. So you could have a frown. You could see people frowning a lot. And that becomes more obvious as you're aging because there tends to be this tension here. The more time you kind of spend in being able to just feel your eyelids, and I say eyelid particularly, not your forehead, because what it takes to pay attention to your eyelids has you be aware of all the other factors. And as you begin to relax your eyelids, I will come to that, the other parts of your brain, the other parts of the influencers relax. How now, paying attention only to the eyelids, I invite you to bring your attention to the length of your eyelids, from the inner canthus, inner side, all the way through your eyelashes, about the region of your eyelashes, all the way to the outer sides of your eye. That's a lot of sensory information. You will notice when you pay attention to, for example, notice your eyelids in terms of the thinness of the tissues. That may seem, it'll be easier if you try and pay attention to softness of your eyelids. Now, how do you feel your eyelids? Check for softness. Eyelids are thin tissues. If you can notice your eyelids in terms of softness, it may also seem like your eyelids are moist because it is a thin flap of tissue. Moistness, moisture, softness are good indicators. Others may take some more time because there could be sensorily sensory tension from your forehead and other regions. But if you can try and pay attention to your eyelids in terms of softness, delicacy, delicate, delicateness, and moisture. And this can't just happen overnight. If you could get a little tense sometimes if you're going to try and relax your eyelid in one go, if you're not used to it. So every now and then when you're going about your activities, if you can pay attention to your eyelids in terms of softness, in terms of delicateness, in terms of moisture, or a sense of, I can't say liquid, but it's a little like a fluid because it's thin tissues. It becomes possible over time that your nerves be less tense because it takes something to feel your eyelids. And then if there is any tension headache building up, that could lead to, say, migraines or just tension about this region, that tension begins to release because your nerves are more focused on paying attention to the sensory experience of your eyelids. The nervous tension about your head begins to start relaxing. And that enables at least clearer thinking because the tension on your head becomes a little less. And then there is, the quality of thinking, how you then process that which you're aware of. Those are additional. But your ability to think or what you are thinking becomes a little more clearer when you're not sensorily flummoxed, but you can sensorily feel your eyelids. The other tissues begin to become a little more sensible. And then try and bring attention to your temples, left and right sides, while being aware of your eyelids. Upper eyelids, we're not talking about the lower eyelids. That's a whole lot story again. We are only talking about two eyelids. We are only talking about the upper eyelids. Lower eyelids, a whole lot of work there. Now, why I say that is because you smile. And we have smileys and all kinds of expressions where we even mask our expressions. And all that shows up on our lower eyelids. So we're not going there. Just the upper eyelids. I then invite you, if you can pay attention to the sensory experience of your upper eyelids, to notice the moisture in your eyes, in your eyeballs. Because the lubrication of your eyeballs is an important part of relaxing your eyes, or also, I would say, the yoga of your eyes. Because awareness is an important part of noticing what is integrated, what is not integrated. For example, there could be pain about your eyeballs, dryness about your eyeballs, tension from the skin. And without being aware of it, you're having visions, dreams, visualization techniques. Watching out for the present moment when your tissues may be so pulled in by memories from the past or dreams for the future. So integration may be a lot more difficult. Living in the present moment may be a lot more difficult when you're not even aware that your eyes are going through pain and tension. When you are aware, that's a different story. That will take some more work, where you work with that awareness. And that awareness is not going to take you away from what you're doing in the present moment. Otherwise, you don't even know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with thought lines from pain and tension, but you don't know that you're experiencing pain and tension, and you are trying to solve through a problem. Your ability to solve through a problem becomes that much more reduced because your body is processing so much of information that you can just work with that task at a point in time and not solve through a problem. So your natural genius becomes less. And that's a whole lot of people. So the productivity, what we can do at a point in time, what can be accomplished, how can a team function, a lot of it gets affected. So I'll pause for now. And maybe transcribe this, get into better format. But this is available. Thank you so much for kind interest there.